One of the things we keep hearing from growers all over the Midwest is, what's happened to my soybean yields? You know, I used to get higher yields than I am today. And as we analyze the situation, there's a lot of reasons for that occurrence in these fields. And a lot of it has to go back to just pure plant health. We know that the soil is the stomach to the plant, and many of our soils are out of balance. We have compaction, which leads to poor rootability. We have roots that get diseased. And when those roots get diseased early on, they never want to recover, it seems like. And there's a lot of things that have led to this, including lack of proper crop rotation that we used to have more of in our cropping cultures. And you know, the dilemma is costs are going up. I mean, land prices are going up, either rents or land cost. We know that taxes are going up. Fuel costs certainly are going up. Fertilizer, anything connected with energy. And so one of the things that we're looking to do here in Profit Pro is figure out how to turn these corn and soybean yields up, and specifically soybeans. And so we're going to be working on what we call the 100 Bushel Soybean Club. And we're going to bring you remedies to improve soybean yields long term, and where we can get more consistent yields and sustainable yields in our cropping rotations. And specifically, again, soybeans is one of the things that we're going to focus on. Soybeans are a crop where you got to have good plant health from day one. And it seems like if a soybean plant gets stunted due to compaction or high salt fertilizers or any kind of disease, it just never wants to catch up. And of course, they don't have the root mass that a lot of other crops do as far as depth. And so when they get stunted because of compaction and cool, wet weather and disease sets in, they tend not to recover. That's why we think that the ProfitCoat is so important. It allows the plant to get off to a good, healthy start from day one and never look back. And that's really important. And what we've done to create that kind of situation is we've actually put kind of a biostimulant package on there along with a biofungicide. And that's to keep the plant healthy and keep the beneficial microbes around that root and the rhizobium bacteria doing their job and maintaining plant health and colonizing that root with beneficials rather than pathogens. The other thing we've done is put an energy source there to supply energy to the microbes and to the plant, and also kind of what I call a growth stimulation package, which includes nutrients and micronutrients. And so that's why the ProfitCoat has shown the response that we're seeing in this particular field, which is somewhere between a 6 and 7 bushel response. So certainly is economical when you can get that kind of response for the investment you're making in the ProfitCoat. We're in a soybean field here that's been split. Half is treated with ProfitCoat and the other half is non-treated. And these are a 2.2 maturity bean planted about 160,000 plants per acre. And it's actually a 2250 Roundup Ready Viking variety that we're looking at here. And all season long you can see the difference right to the line where it was treated with ProfitCoat and where it wasn't, based on overall vigor and health of the plant. And you can see here these two plants is kind of an indication of what we saw out here during the season. This one on my right has got ProfitCoat on it, and it also had a seed treatment package that we put the ProfitCoat right over the top of. And you can see better health. Obviously, to get more beans, you got to have more nodes and more beans per pod and heavier beans, as compared to the non-treated that's just not as aggressive and vigorous a plant. So we saw a really nice response here with the ProfitCoat, leading to the yield advantage that we see of between 6 and 7 bushel an acre that pretty much correlates with what we saw last year. Now these plants right here are in the control area, and as you can see, we've got a lot of 2-pod nodes here. Here's one with 2 beans in it. We also noticed down here one with 1 bean in it, and here's one that's aborting. And really, to get high yield in soybeans, we got to have a plant that's going to produce, you know, 4 to 5 pods per node. If you want to be in that high yielding area, we know potentially they can put on 12 per node, but that's not reality. What we really want to have in a high producing field is 4 to 5 nodes with 3 beans in a pod, and then those beans as big as we can get them. In this control plant, you can see we don't have a lot of pods at each one of these nodes coming up the stem of the plant. And also the lack of number of beans and the size of the bean too is obviously dramatically going to affect the overall yield. On the treated plant here, you can see we actually got a little bit more branching going on than we had in the control area, and obviously more nodes per plant and a few more pods per node. and they're filled out. We don't see as many pods that are lacking what we call complete fill. The bean hasn't aborted in the pod. And also, real nice development on the top here. And you know, if you get these top beans filled out like this, that can equate to 3 to 4 bushel right there, just by having that top node completely filled out and hanging 2 to 4 pods right on that very top node. So you can see here in these treated beans, we've got a lot more stature, better plant health during the season that led to more beans being produced. What we're doing here is, this is on the ProfitCoat research farm, and what we're looking at here, the beans on my left have ProfitCoat on them, the beans on my right are what we call a control set of plants. And generally what we're seeing with the ProfitCoat the last couple of years on bean yields is somewhere around that 5 to 7 bushel range in yield by putting the ProfitCoat right on the seed at planting time. Now these beans right here not only had the ProfitCoat on them, but they had what we call the nitrifying bacteria and the inoculant on them as well, as compared to the control plants over here. Now what ProfitCoat is actually doing is allowing the plant to get off to a healthier start and to have a better root structure, which allows in the plant to get better early growth and more sugar production early on to drive the overall yield and quality of the plant that we see here. We're seeing obviously a little taller plant with more nodes and more beans per pod, and a little bit bigger bean in the pod as compared to on my right, which is a control plant. And we know that what the ProfitCoat is doing is allowing the plant to get off to an earlier, better start. We're improving the root health, which improves the upper part of the plant, and the plant then has the ability during the season to just produce more sugars and to set more flowers and retain more pods and to fill them out with bigger, heavier beans. And so the ProfitCoat the last 2 seasons has been generating somewhere between a 5 and 7 bushel response in the fields that we've treated. And this year we got out about 20,000 acres of ProfitCoat across the Midwest with really good results coming in this fall.